Grace and peace to you on this night from the one who calls us to the table and calls us to love. Amen. The parade of palms was over. The people were getting nervous about the interference of the empire. Jesus and his followers had gathered for their Passover meal together. And we watch from the wings. We watch for what we know has already been set in motion. Judas has told the government officials where they can find Jesus. We watch for them. We know what is coming. We want to warn Jesus, don't trust Judas. What are you thinking? But before any of that happens, before Jesus goes out to the garden, where once again we kind of from the wings want to say, not the garden. Before any of that happens, Jesus gathers at the table with them once again, and bread breaks before hearts follow. We remember this night every week when we gather at this table. On the night before he died, Jesus took bread, took cup, blessed, broke, shared. But somehow, when this night comes before tomorrow, it lands differently. This meal, this gathering, had none of the trappings of the feasts that kings usually threw. There is no gluttony, no debauchery, none of the things that usually come with being one in power. But what it does hold for this king, this Jesus, this King of the Jews, is the feast that his people have celebrated for generations. The feast of freedom, the feast of the Passover, when God passed over their houses and saved them and spared them. This gathering would have been rooted in those celebrations. And for Jesus, it is one more opportunity to teach the disciples what they need to know to carry on without him. They need to know that their ministry is to be based in service and in love. Nothing else. No might, no fame, no glory, just service and love. The events of Holy Week might seem unimaginable. Jesus has deeply offended the political leaders of his day. He has gathered and garnered a following of people who were captivated by his message of love and service. And this feels threatening to the king, and so they are out looking for him. They want to stop him from sharing this message that says everybody is equal. And so they are looking for just the right loophole. Just the loophole that will allow them to send him to his death. Because loopholes like that are conveniently or inconveniently hard to undo once they are done. Holy Week becomes a nightmare for this teacher they call the King of the Jews. It turns from celebration at the table with his friends to being unjustly taken, snatched up out of the garden, facing accusations that are trumped up against him just for the convenience of the empire. And it takes him to his death. If this has anything to teach us, any lesson to leave with us, it is that even in the hardest seasons, even in the midst of persecution and death, God remains active and present in the world. Resurrection and new life show up in a multitude of ways. But that's getting 3 days ahead of ourselves. For this night, we are still around a table, watching Jesus wash the feet of his disciples, listening to Peter, who is always arguing about something, argue about why he shouldn't wash his feet. And we see Judas sitting back a ways, maybe shifting uncomfortably in his seat. And as Jesus reclines, the text says, he speaks to us of a new way of being, a new commandment, not a suggestion, not a possibility, but a commandment that we love one another, because this is how we will be known in the world. It seems almost too simple. But the reality is that nothing was simple on that night, and nothing is simple now. And as complicated and hard to believe as it is, we know that our only possibility for getting through, for moving to the other side of whatever unimaginable thing we are facing, the only way to move through is to find a way to be of service and to do so in love. This is my commandment, Jesus said, looking around at them, looking even at Judas. And it is Jesus' words to the saints who have followed him. It is his words to us. And it is his words to those who will follow us. This is my commandment, that you love one another. Amen.